I can't lie to y'all, man. It kind of breaks my heart to see good people treated bad. Breaks my heart. But you know something? If you let someone treat you a certain way, they will continue to do so if you let them keep getting away with it. I'm sorry. I mean, we're not talking about you. We're talking about a bad person. Bad people will treat you however they can. If you don't draw the line, set boundaries. But let's talk about it, because there's a couple of reasons why this happens and people get stuck in this loop. There's a couple of reasons why this happens and people get stuck in this loop. So first and foremost, this doesn't just apply to men. This doesn't just apply to women, right? And I'm really talking about this in the forms of relationships, to be honest, because that tends to be the place where people get taken advantage of the most. That tends to be the place people get taken advantage of the most. Because you, in the beginning, people appear as their best selves. They appear as their best selves. And you fall for that. You fall for that. And life happens, and then at some points in a relationship, maybe they feel like they need you. They haven't really shown you their true colors until they feel like this person isn't going anywhere. I can be whoever I want. I can show whoever I want. I can treat them however I want. They're not going to go nowhere. They need me. They're not going to go nowhere. They need me. This is when they start to, what we call it in the hood. This is when people start to show their ass. Excuse me for my bad language. This is when they start to show their ass. And you cannot allow this to happen. Right? That's one way. Where someone they get into the point in a relationship where they believe this person needs me. I can do whatever I want, say whatever I want, treat them however I want, and they're not going anywhere. That is a bad place to be. The other thing doesn't come from a place of need, right? It comes from a place of some of you guys think so low of yourself that when somebody treats you bad or does bad things, you don't really have this self-love to really step out of that situation. You feel tethered to the person, as if there's nothing I can do. I am so lucky to have this person. I still don't understand why they even love me. I still don't understand how they can even be with me. I deserve that. I guess this is what it will cost for them to stay with me. So I should just take whatever they dish out. Because they can go have somebody that's better. They can have somebody that's greater. They can find somebody who has this. They can find somebody who has that. But let me tell you something. If they could, they would. If they could, they would. Right? But that's not even the problem. The problem is your lack of self-love. And I talked to you guys about this in a couple videos ago. You guys got to work on that. And so I can't go too deep on that thing right here in this video because I want to talk about this specific thing, right? The other thing comes from this. Some of you guys are so negative to yourselves. You're so negative to yourselves that you take abuse from other people. Because the abuse that they are dishing out on you is not worse than the abuse that you dish out on yourself. They don't treat you nearly as bad as you treat yourself. So you can tolerate how they act. You can tolerate how they behave because they're actually nicer to you than you are to yourself. So this is a deeper version of the one I said before. It's not that this is past a lack of self-love. This is self-hatred. Right? Right? So let's rewind. For the individuals who are like, man, I spent so much time with this person. I've come so far with this person. I couldn't imagine life without them. Or, I'll be worried about them if they didn't have me. They need me for so much. No one's going to do for them like this. No one's going to remember that they need this. No one's going to. This is what I call, man, it's called like, and this is not a psychological term. But to me, it's like you think that you're their parent and they're your child, or you're their child. You feel like you're their child and they're your parent. At some way, shape, or form, you feel like you cannot exist without them, or they can't exist without you. So when the person treats you wrong or does bad things, you look past it because you're like, I need them or they need me. Or we have so much together, I just could not imagine I will endure. But this can only happen from a place of a lack of self-respect, right? So let's say this. In relationships, as you're dating, you have to teach people, train people, condition people on how to interact with and treat you as a person. This is called boundaries, right? You have to set clear boundaries so a person can know, nah, you're not about to play with me like that. You can't do that to me because there's repercussions for these sort of things. And it's challenging, I get it. It's challenging, I get it, because you don't want to feel like a dictator. You don't want to feel like you're controlling. You don't want to feel like all these other things. I get it. It's a battle. It's a battle. But there's a thin line between you being whatever the heck you think that is, and then on the other end, a person just getting away with anything and treating you any kind of way, right? Where I'm saying is that, like, where there is physical, if it's physical abuse, then you pass that point, and that's we're talking about. It's a different problem at this point, but we're talking about verbal and emotional abuse. Someone talking to you in any kind of way, and someone treating you any kind of way emotionally, right? This is that tier. You have to be able to set this sort of boundary, man. I hate to see it because a lot of you guys, you don't confront the yellow lights. Because like I said, someone can be trying to ease themselves in, like, oh no, I can't show them that because they'll leave or they won't give me a chance. I have to kind of. That's how a lot of you guys end up with narcissists, because you don't really question the yellow lights and confront the yellow lights to make sure. To make sure. And that's a yellow lights. How people say red flags, green flags, something like a yellow flag, right? You got to question and confront those yellow flags before they turn into red flags, because this can be them kind of like showing a sign of this is who they really are. This is the kind of person they are. You need to set boundaries. Let them know, hey, nah, this ain't that. This ain't that. And it's more important when you're talking about dating, when you're talking about marriage. You really want to be able to make sure you're truly with somebody who you fit with, who you belong with. Because if you're lying to yourself and you're convincing yourself this and this and that, and you're lying to yourself, and you end up in a toxic, abusive relationship, marriage, you're literally going to ruin your life. You're going to ruin your life. Right? So this is the one time, if anything, that you need to be completely yourself and completely, set on your boundaries, man. You just gotta be. You just gotta be. You gotta be. Or you're gonna live a miserable life. So never, and this is why I always tell guys this specifically. Make sure you keep your hobbies. Women too, make sure you keep your hobbies. Never feel like you're completely dependent on this person, like your life doesn't exist outside of this relationship. Because it's gonna be very hard to set those boundaries and understand that, hey, I'm a person outside this relationship too. A lot of people lose their identity, they lose their self in these relationships So when a person starts treating them away and acting out of character and abusing them emotionally, mentally, whatever, right? It's hard for you to leave because you feel so attached to this and like, this is my life. This is right. So it's like, if you leave this person, you're leaving your life. You're leaving yourself. You're leaving reality. And you don't want to trade everything in just because of this person is going through a phase. That's the problem. Because you need to. You need to be able to, all right, I'm done with that. I'm not allowing you to. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. Right? And there's this funny thing about that phrase. People say, I don't get it, I don't get it. Like literally, a simpler way is, you cannot have your dollar and spend the dollar and keep the dollar. You understand what I'm saying? So like, after you eat your cake, you don't have a cake anymore. So if you want to have your cake, don't eat it all. Have the cake or eat it. Pick. So when people want, I want to have a healthy relationship as well, but then I also want to be able to go out and party and sleep